Hi everyone, this is Casey Cadaver here with the Roxy Horror Casey Show, doing our 31 on 31 Halloween Horror Nights zombie series movies. And this is number 17. A little late, we've had some technical issues. I live out in the country, so loading does not work well, but things seem to be better on track. Anyway, number 17, Re-Animator. Okay, so this movie has escaped me for a while. It pops up and I don't have the right streaming, or it's not on, or it's not there, or it costs too much. I don't know. I was never very aware of it. I remember hearing about it, but not super conscious of it. Man, I love this movie. This was so good. Um, I know it has a bit of camp to it. Um, but not a whole lot. Like the only camp comes from, I guess, the concept, but not even really that. It's a beautiful piece of 70s, 80s horror. Um, college, everybody's in college, and the young aspiring scientist who's broken through. Why were there so many of these movies back then? Well, there was like a young college kid who was discovering his own method of reanimation and bringing the dead back to life, only to be questioned and told he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's beyond his realm, only to actually succeed in it. Like there's so many. I mean, I don't know why the first one that comes to mind is um, zombie zombie Frankenhooker, uh, which that one was entirely campy. Um, but Re-Animator, man, I'm not even sure if they got a full like theatrical release, maybe, but dude, it's even just starting out with like the medical examinations. Damn, I meant to look this up before the video, but when they peel the skin back of the skull and it's like a skull and it has just the right amount of blood on it, like it looks good. And then I'm staring at that in the corner, uh, where the head's off, and you can see into the skull. It's not just like a white bowl. Like you can see the eye sockets and the stem and everywhere else in the like a real good base of the skull. So their budget went to some stuff. If you're not familiar with Re-Animator, one, I don't know why you're watching this. Two, thank you for watching this. And three, it's about a kid named Herbert West. He's working on a reanimation serum, and he's in a Swiss college working with a professor. Professor dies, he reanimates it, and then he gets sent or escapes um, to America, to another American college, where he becomes roommates with a Mr. Dan Kane, who is an up and coming neurological scientist, and they become roommates. And Dan Kane is the leading brain at the school of brain science. Um, and of course, Herbert West has been working on this reanimation serum, so he starts taking classes and starts butting heads with the staff and the professors because they think his ideas are far fetched and wrong, and he really gets into it with a Mr. Dr. Carl Hill, um, taking his class, and Dr. Carl Hill thinks he's the leading professor on death and the brain's timeline. Um, so you have them as roommates, and Mr. Dan Kane is dating the dean's daughter, um, Dean Halsey, and that's taboo. Um, so they have to keep a secret from the dean, or else he'll get expelled or have a harder time in school. Well, anyway, Herbert moves in and becomes the roommate with Dan. So Mr. West and Dan, Herbert West and Dan Kane. They are now roommates now, and of course Herbert West finds Dan's cat dead and then tries to reanimate it with his serum. Um, and it works, and they have to kill it. And then Dan's still not convinced that he reanimated, thought he just drugged it. And he's like, okay, I love this scene. This is like one of the best beginning scenes where they find not only Dan's cat that's missing, Dan and Megan, the dean's daughter, find can't find Dan's cat in the house. So they go searching for it. She finds it in Herbert's refrigerator, freezer, in there. Like, how the hell did you kill my cat? Um, and then they go down there and have to later on fight the cat that is now reanimated, beat it to death, break its. I mean, you know, you hate to see animals hurt in movies, but this one was reanimated, so it was already dead, natural causes. Um, but then reanimated, and they beat it, and Dan's like, "Well, it wasn't dead. You put it to sleep. How dare you?" So Herbert's like, "Okay, do you agree it's dead? Do you see this cat? This pile of cat? Do you agree it's dead? Yes. Okay. I'm going to bring it back to life." The guy's like, "No." It's like, "Well, I'm going to bring it back to life if you think it's dead and this is impossible." This is what I'm thinking. It's like, if you think it's dead, you think it's possible, what's the harm besides injecting the corpse of your cat with random chemicals? And it comes alive, and for one of the first times I've seen in these movies, um, like Dan, even though it's his cat, was like, okay, this is impressive. This is something we should be looking into. I'm sad for my cat, but he goes to the dean. He's like, dude, this is happening. He discovered it. We should start funding this. Like, this could be really big for the school. And the dean's like, I will have you expelled. He's definitely expelled. Don't talk to my daughter. And Dan's like, dude, no, this has happened. This is a miracle. Not to mention that Dan started the whole movie out by not being able to save a patient. He is an active doctor um, in this hospital. Um, and he's down because he hasn't been able to save patients. So he sees this as a win that we can save patients, we can help, and he gets threatened with expulsion. Um, and then he goes on to like them just keep falling into dead bodies and trying to grab a dead body from the morgue and see if they can use it on a human. The first human they try to bring back, they get caught by the dean, and the dean then gets killed by the reanimated corpse, and then they reanimate the dean, trying to be pretty use a fresher body, and that doesn't go well. He becomes pretty much like a crazed zombie-esque. Um, well, the cool thing about this movie um, is that it's not really zombies, but I see why it was incorporated in this to kind of break up the you know, the back from the dead zombie infectious ideal, and just kind of have another reanimated corpse type movie. And I think that was really a good move on Cody Leach's part, because this was super fun. It was like a small break from it with the same overtone. Um, yeah, it's not really a zombie movie, but it is a reanimated corpse horror movie. The blood's great. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Um, and just the moral implications of bringing them back, and how fresh of a body can it be to be brought back with his mind intact. That said, um, Dr. Carl Hill comes down the lab of Herbert West at some point towards the the climax of the movie, and is basically threatening to steal his research. Um, and Herbert's a bit of a weird guy, and he plays the weird guy so well. Like, it's not overly over the top. Like, I'm just weird. It's definitely a dude who thinks he's broken the barrier of life and death, and so he sees beyond human comprehension and can't really relate to other people. Um, and is just thinking way further out. With that, so Dr. Hill comes down, the guy who's been getting on West, and he comes down to try to take his research, and of course, he kills him, uh, decapitates him, which, you know, I think that goes back and forth. At first, I'm like, why would you do that? Like, this is the freshest body, you can kill him. But he didn't have anything ready at the time to kill him without damaging the body. So he did what he could. Hit him with a shovel, then decapitated him with the shovel. A little messy, but then he uses the juice to then reanimate the head and the body separately, which then we get a body head Bluetooth situation where the head is controlling the body, but the head itself is cognizant and able to speak. And can I also just say that the dean and Dr. Hill, as who start off as like the college professor, dean, straight characters, really transitioned well into corpses pretty awesomely. Um, you have the dean bouncing around like an interrogation room or an observation room, hair wild, and then he gets lobotomized. And how he plays him is pretty great. It's not goofy. It's a good corpse. And then Dr. Hill's severed head with the wheezing and the slow, raspy speaking of just, I guess, using no lungs was really well done. Now, one part of this I think was unnecessary. Um, so the dean's when the dean goes zombified, for lack of better words, and Megan sees her dad like this, no longer wants to be with Dan. Uh, she's just running around crazy, probably, and I think she goes and asks Hill for help, and Hill gets super creepy and is like, "I want to be here for you when you need me, as a friend, and when you're lonely." And he pulls that super creepy, like, God, dude could be her grandfather, and is trying to pull like the swagger on her. It's like, that was weird. And then the movie kind of climaxes with his reanimated corpse sending her dad, the dean, to go pick her up, knock out a boyfriend, pick her up, bring her to the lab to make her his bride. I don't know what the plan was there. Like, they brought out all the other corpses around the room, and at first you think, yeah, so Dr. Hill goes to the morgue, and you think, oh, he's just gonna like reattach his head because he's been carrying it around for a while. You think, oh, I'll find a way to reattach it, or maybe find a new body. I don't know. Um, you don't know, but they pull out all the bodies, and you think they're gonna try to find spare parts to make it happen, reattach his head. Well, no, he just has the dean bring his daughter down, strip her naked, tie her to an examination table, and you're just like, what is he gonna do? He's obviously gonna try to make her some kind of partner. Oh, so he also mentions that he oh shit. Oh, you guys are yelling at me. It just clicked. He later reveals right after that, and it had been kind of happening in the movie, but he later reveals that he had perfected laser lobotomy because he did it on the dean even after he was zombified, and she's like, yes, I perfected the laser lobotomy, and then that makes me a master, and I'll get power beyond all can compare. So I guess without saying it explicitly, which is kind of cool, makes you think, or if you think about it, he was going to probably lobotomize her and make her his little sex slave. Which I guess in one way was a way to get her down into the lab and make it like the damsel in distress moment of everybody's in the final scene running around, because when Herbert West and Dan come into the lab to stop them, he reanimates all the corpses in the morgue to fight them off. It's some big zombie boss battle. It's insane. And a good move. Um, and this is going to go into one of those parts where it's hard to talk about without sounding creepy, but I really appreciate, you don't see it much these days for obvious reasons. You see more back then for obvious reasons, but um, you're in a morgue. There's dead bodies. Every dead body that's reanimated is completely naked and fighting everybody. And it could seem silly and unnecessary, but that's how it would be. They don't need to clothe the dead in the morgue. There's no need for clothes down there, so it makes it much more real and feral that the reanimated corpses are just naked and just fighting with reckless abandon without shame, because that's what a reanimated corpse is, right? Like, it's supposedly all the instincts and violence of human nature without any of the withholdings of intelligence and control. So having these people just fighting with all their bits and shit swinging, it's like, I don't know, if you had a bunch of naked ass people coming at you, all dead and blown up and burned. There's a burn victim. There's a guy with a shotgun wound to the head, and all these ones just coming at you, just tear you apart. That's horrific. If you've seen 28 Years Later, you'd understand. They use that a lot in that movie too. So yeah, it's either European movies or yeah, go in the 80s or 70s to get horror horror movie nudity. And I'll even say, like, again, it sounds weird, but when they bring the daughter in, strap her down the table, they strip her down and hold her down, and so she's like naked and helpless on the table during the beginning of the fight. And like, to see her and to empathize with the fact that she is the most vulnerable she can be, strapped down to a table with her zombified dad bouncing around the room, animated corpses pop up, and there's a headless man licking her chest and talking to her about being his bride. Like, that is true terror. And this actress who played Megan is an absolute fantastic screamer. Like that, I'm not sure that girl didn't actually get traumatized, because those are some good traumatized screams. Even when she found out her father died, like that was real. Like, she, not quite Tony Collette and Hereditary, but like, for the time, very good. Like, you felt it, and the fact that she was that vulnerable and scared, uh, with all going on, it's like, okay, yep, she is having a bad day. Um, and I think it brings a bit of realism to it. To a movie called Re-Animator. Uh, it doesn't take you out of it so much. Like, who went and put bra and panties and boxers on all the corpses before they all animated? Like, it doesn't take you out of it as much. At least someone who is aware that of funeral homes and zombies and horror movies existing. Like, anyway, I like I appreciate small details in movies, and I always think that just a detail. Like, there has been a bit of gratuitous, unnecessary nudity in horror movies, which has always been a trope and kind of a big joke, especially in slashers, which is why I'm not a huge slasher fan. Like, I don't eat eye candy in my horror movies. I want terror and fear, and dread. So, well used, it's a good tool for fear and fright and empathy, um, to get you in on that, because you're like, fuck, if I was laying there naked on a table and bright fluorescent light and there's a there's a fucking head bleeding onto me, Christ almighty. um so that was Re-Animator, man. uh Super good super fun gore. Never gave up on the blood. Um, Kind of funny at points with the security guard right outside the morgue, just always smoking a cigar. Just a nice little nod to the time where he's smoking in a hospital constantly, just reading boudoir magazines. I guess you're down the morgue, like not many people see you besides people who see way worse shit. Um, Acting all seemed pretty good, especially for the time. Um, Dr. West was a fun character with the reanimation syrup and just being kind of a quirky but um, knowledgeable dude. And then, yeah, the older actors who played the dean and Dr. Hill, zombieing it up well and acting like when Dr. Hill's head is being shown around, uh, his eyes shifting back and forth, and I feel like the dude has actually been decapitated once and been rehabilitated, and I hope this role wasn't too tough for him to get his head back in that role, if you will, um, of that difficult time in his life when he was decapitated. So kudos to him for sacrificing that in the namesake of art. We appreciate you. But yeah, um, if you haven't seen it, again, thank you for being here. Listen to a review of a movie you haven't seen. Um, but man, that's going up there. One of my favorites of like 80s horror, because it's just good. If you're ever looking for a movie that someone's like, I don't really mind blood, um, don't really mind blood, but I don't want any too jump scares or anything. Like, I think the 80s had a great way of shooting horror in like bright fluorescent lights. Like they hadn't mastered dark movies yet very well. Um, so it's always bright and the effects always look super good. Like when Hill's head is squished at the end by Dean, by the Dean, it is good. Like he gets his thumbs in the eyes, and the whole thing's crushing, and it blood gushing out of everything. It is, and the movie opens up with that. Sorry, the movie opens with that, with Dr. Gruber getting up and being reanimated, and his head is just exploding. And man, it looks like his face is bubbling, and his eyes pop out. It's always the eyes. Whole movie, no notes. Um, I'd say a solid 8, 8.5 out of 10. Only weird part is I don't think it was necessary to make the professor creep on the dean's daughter. That was weird. I think we could have found a better way to get her down there and have everybody together at the final scene. Um, just creepy. I mean, not to say that that shit doesn't happen, but yeah, um, yep, 8.5. I love Re-Animator. I'm going to need to find some kind of memorabilia, like even if I just get a green syringe, uh, I'd be happy. It's just a nice little nod to that would be great. What else would you have? Like the mangled cat? That would be really hard to explain to people. Probably just have to be the green syringe. And you can usually find this as a pin at Spirit Halloween. But anyway, this has been Casey Cadaver with number 17 of 31 of 31. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and let us know what else you'd like us to see. Please join us. We still got a few more days left of this. It is exhausting, but I'm having a lot of fun. Hopefully, this still loads up pretty well with my bad Wi-Fi out here. So stick with us if you have already. We're having a lot of fun doing this, and we're getting to reintroduce old movies, introduce to movies we hadn't seen, and that's kind of the fun of this. And hopefully, you're doing the same thing. All right, you have a great one.